itself and went blue screen, so I thought I lost my stuff.
Well, I mean, guess we can go without your input for this week.
That's all right.
We are back on another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday night. We are continuing our draft series. Today we are doing defensive line and edge. Last week was linebackers. Next week is cornerbacks. And then 2 weeks from today, we are doing live mock drafts for the whole show. So today we're going to be doing defensive line and edge. We're going to hit the intro and get started.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so as I said, today we are doing defensive line and edge. Does anybody want to make a preference on which one we do first?
D-line.
D-line. All right, D-line it is. And since you asked, you can go first. We all are going to have 10 defensive linemen and 10 edge rushers, edge players, whether you want to classify them as outside linebackers or defensive ends. It's the same difference. I really wish the NFL community in general would just separate them so that we can have outside linebackers and defensive ends. But here we are, because there is a difference. There's a difference, but the entire scope of media and just the NFL process is just keeping him as edge rushers. So we'll do that second. So starting with defensive line, Jake, give me your number 10 defensive lineman.
Yeah, I went with Nick Skirton from Texas A&M.
All right. Bryant, who is your number 10?
Yeah, I have CJ West.
Yeah.
All right. Simon, who's your number 10?
Deion Walker.
All right. My number 10, I'll be the first one to say it, Aeneas Peebles. All right, Jake, who's your number 9?
That's where I have Walter Nolan from Ole Miss.
Oh, we got
Damn.
him. All right. Brian, who's your number 9?
Shamar Turner.
All right. Simon, number 9?
I also have Shamar Turner.
All right. Go to number 8. Jake, who's your number 8 defensive line?
Wait, sorry, I have Shamar Turner. Talk about my bad.
Oh, all right. Yep.
Yeah, my bad. So Shamar Turner, 22 years old, 6'3", 290 pounds. Plus, he's a relentless defender who doesn't give up on plays. I think he does a really good job timing snap counts, as he'll almost always be the first guy to move. He has super powerful hands and gets offensive linemen off balance. He always seems to kind of know where the ball is going. Negatives, he's not overly athletic, and sometimes he gets bullied in double teams.
All right. Top 8. Jake, who is your number 8?
I have Braden Swinson from LSU.
All right. Brian, number 8.
Yeah, I have Darius Alexander from Toledo.
Ooh, interesting.
All right. Simon, who's your number 8 defensive lineman?
Alfred Collins.
All right. Number 8 is where I have Deion Walker. My first guy, Deion Walker, out of Kentucky, 6'6", 345 pounds. Had 3 pass bat downs, did have 3 penalties as well. Samael, welcome back. In 266 pass rushes, he had 22 pressures and 4 sacks. That's an 8.3 pressure rate. It's kind of low, even for defensive tackles. I think that like 10 to 12 range is a good spot for D tackles to be in. But the way I see him, he's a big old boy, 6'6", 345. I see him kind of as a TJ Slayton type replacement, if we're talking about viewing this from a Packers standpoint. He's a big old boy. He's a block eater. He may not make a ton of plays per se. He's not super athletic, but he's a major disruptor. He gets offenses off schedule with his strength. He's capable of splitting gaps with his swim and juke moves, which is a combination, with his strength. He does occasionally mix in a spin move. Again, he's not the most athletic guy, but uses his size well. And the way that I see him helping the Packers defense potentially, and while I'm saying he may not make a ton of plays but still be a guy who can make an impact, is because it forces running backs to make cutbacks that they're not wanting to make, or forces them to bounce out wide so that other guys can make plays. So he's not necessarily a playmaker, but he's a guy who helps other people make plays.
Yeah.
He is watching him against South Carolina. There's a left tackle that tries to like land a punch on him, and he just completely runs through it. It's like he's just completely unfazed by the punch of another grown human. He is a good tackler if he gets a quarterback or running back in his arms. He did have a very bad relative athletic score, so the Packers might completely pass. He did play 2024 with a broken back, so that did have a decent Senior Bowl, so there's a potentially redeeming quality there, so it kind of cancels out, I guess. But if he falls, I would say he could be a guy that the Packers look at late in the draft. Sam, stick around. Brian's going to talk about Derek Hartman. So, Jake, give me your number 7 defensive lineman.
Yeah, this is my first guy, TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Comes in at 6'4", 284, a sub 540, so pretty good for a big fella. He has the ability to be effective from the 0 tech or the 5 tech. The 0 tech is literally head up with the center and then moving out as the numbers go up. I could share something so people can kind of understand the alignment of a D-line. He's got good competitive toughness. He played through a couple nagging injuries, a shoulder injury, hand injury. The last couple seasons, he has a really explosive first step. He's a little bit on the lighter side, only being 284, so not being 300 pounds does hurt him a little bit, but he has a very quick first step, and he consistently squeezes through gaps. He has natural short area quickness for a guy his size, and he has a good variety of pass rush moves. He has a good rip move. There's a lot of D linemen now that they have a move. It's kind of being explained as like a Euro step, where they kind of fake you one way and go the other way, and they give you a rip move. He's really good at that. Some negatives on him is sometimes he likes to stop his feet, and when you're only 284 pounds, that's probably not the idea to stop your feet and kind of get dominated in the run game. Also talking about the run game, he has the frame to add some more weight on there. So I would like him to add a little bit more weight. So, cause he's a little light in the ass, as they say, like him to add a little bit more weight so he could, help with the run fits. The Packers, they switched to the 4-3 last year, and they rely a lot on the D tackles to do a lot with the runs. I graded him as not a day one starter, but he could be a guy that could develop into a good rotation guy.
All right. TJ Sanders I had at my 9 spot. I don't think I said that. So jump back down to the 7s, and Brian, give me your number 7.
That's where I have Alfred Collins.
All right. Simon, number 7.
I have Darius Alexander, so I guess Brian and I flipped. 6'4", 310 pounds. I think he has a really explosive first step. Speed to power conversion's good. Really good leg drive. And he has a good initial punch, and he has a really good club move. And he's decently strong against double teams. Downside, he's a little bit older. He's going to be, I think, 25 in the middle of the season, or 24 in the middle, one of those two. So he's a little older of a prospect. So that means he's probably pretty close to hitting his peak. He played in kind of a weak conference, being the MAC, so not a great level of competition. Sometimes he's not the fastest guy to come out of his stance. Sometimes he gets stuck on blocks and has a hard time disengaging.
All right, my number 7, I have Omar Norman Lott as my number 7.
Ooh, he almost
Jake.
on the list.
Jake, who's your number 6?
All right, so I'm going to be the first person to screw a name up today, so I'm very excited about that.
Let's go.
I have JT Toimolao. He's clutched, by the way. I like him a lot. I almost wanted to pick him, but in my heart, I couldn't pick an Ohio State player.
That's
All right,
Couldn't do it.
Brian, who is your
no
number
salt there.
Yeah.
TJ Sanders, that was talked about out of South Carolina.
All righty. Simon, number 6.
TJ Sanders.
My number 6, that's where I have Alfred Collins. Jake, who's your number 5? Top 5 D-line.
All right, I got to mess up another name. Can't wait for it. All right, Donovan Ezuraku.
That you nailed that one.
Fucking A, dude. I'm getting fucking better at this. Let's go.
Nailed it. Well done.
I'm
All right.
fine. Work for Jake. Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, number 5 for me.
Ooh.
All right. Simon, who's your number 5?
Tyleek Williams.
All right. Number 5 is where I have Derek Harmon.
Ooh.
Jake, who's your number 4?
That's where I have Derek Harmon.
All right. Bryant, number 4.
That's where I have Tyleek Williams.
All right. We'll have a good consensus in the middle there at least. Simon, who's your number 4?
I have Derek Harmon, number 4.
All right. My number 4 is Tyleek Williams. That's my other guy to highlight. He is an Ohio State guy, so I did pick one. But 6'3", 327. He's got good size. Did have 0 penalties last year. 321 pass rushes, had 20 pressures and 3 sacks. It's decent. Did have 7 missed tackles last season. Did have 6 sacks his freshman season. So there's some opportunity, I think, for him to have more sacks. He's a good stunter. That's the first thing that stood out to me with him. The Packers last season we broke it down a ton of times when we did play breakdowns of the Packers doing things with guys like Kenny Clark and Quay Walker where they would have them lined up and then blitz into the guy that's currently being blocked by one of their teammates and free them up to spin around into the hole that's opened up by that stunt. The Packers ran it a bunch last season, so having a guy who can do stuff like that, I think, is something that would benefit the Packers. At 6'3", 327, I think he's the perfect defensive lineman size. He's good at getting off blocks. He flows well across the line of scrimmage, especially in the run game. And he does a really good job, similarly to what I brought up with Deion Walker, of getting a good initial push and forcing running backs to break wide or cut back, giving other guys time to rally to the ball. So that's a big thing, I think, with Tyleek Williams. That's about all I got for Tyleek Williams. So top 3 defensive line. Jake, give me your number 3.
So number 3 is actually my second guy. It's Kenny Grant out of Michigan, 6'3", 342 pounds. So you're getting a whole lot of man if you pick this guy. I'm going to start with a quote that came from a Michigan staff that I read in something earlier this week, and they said that he is a gift from the football gods. He's just a guy that's consistently gotten better every single year he's been in college. He has a really good, consistent push on passing downs. He has a veteran-level understanding on gap control and has the power advantage, but he also has a variety of moves. He has a really good swim move, and he is devastating on the bull rush. I mean, 342 pounds, you better be devastating on the bull rush, right? Very strong hands, allows him to stack and get rid of defenders. His power at point of attack and quick first step make him a reliable guy against power and zone schemes. A couple negatives on him. Sometimes he doesn't play with good pad level, so he likes to stand up a little bit, but, big guy, right? Gets gassed. And he needs to work on getting full extension with his arms to go with his power. I think that's literally the next level. Like, he has good hands. He doesn't get the full extension. If he gets that full extension, he could become a problem. There's also a video going viral right now on X or Twitter or whatever the hell you want to call it, of a hustle play that he made on a running back earlier this year. 342 pounds running down a running back 25 yards down the field is impressive. So he obviously has a nonstop motor and a guy that you can rely on every single down.
I did write in my notes on him that he's good pursuit versus the run for a guy who weighs 340 pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. Bryant, who is your number 3?
Yeah, and that's where I have Derek Harmon. So I'll talk about Derek Harmon here. I know he's a hot name in the Green Bay Packers mock draft circles. Everyone's freaking out for Derek Harmon. I will say he's a possibility, definitely. If he gets to us, he's definitely going to be someone that the Packers would consider. So 3 years of starting production, first 2 years at Michigan State, and then he went on to Oregon for his last year. So in 2012, he played 12 games, 5 starts. He had 30 tackles, a couple sacks, a pass breakup. 23, he played, started 10 games, had 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack and a half, a pass breakup, forced fumble, and then he had a kind of a breakout year last year in Oregon. He was second team AP All-American, third team All Big Ten, which is weird that you're second team All-American, but only third team All Big Ten, but hey, whatever. Second, he tied the team with 2 forced fumbles, played in 14 games. He had 10.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles. One thing about him is he has really long arms, so you're going to see a lot of the times he'll get his hands up, or long arms for the position, and he'll pass it or swat down some passes. So he's an exceptional blend of size, length, and strength. Make him tough to move. Long arms allow him to use his quick punch to stall the blockers. He will eat up blocks and take up space too, for sure. He'll use his long arms to do a rip technique to get off the block and get to the ball carrier, get into the gap. He'll consistently win in the leverage battle. Once he is at his point, he is almost impossible to move. So he's going to get there and he's not going to move. You try to run alongside him. He's got the long arms reach for you, or he has the ability to rip down and get off that block. He does have a nasty bull rush that will collapse the pocket. The one thing that is kind of interesting with him is I don't think he does anything like particularly like superstar great level, but he does everything really well.
I disagree.
So you can disagree when I'm done.
I disagree on that he doesn't do anything well, or overly well. I have in my notes, I think he is an elite hand fighter. I would go as far as to say I believe Derek Harmon has the best hands out of any of the defensive linemen.
Possibly, but so we'll see. But for me, what I think he's a player that if those develop and if the hands continue to develop everything, he has the potential to be elite, but at minimum, he has a very high floor. So he's going to come in and be a consistent starter, a consistent contributor. And I feel like that could be something really nice for us to put next to Kenny Clark, as well as potentially replacing Kenny Clark. Because once you look a year ahead, we have a lot of people potentially on the chopping block next year. Some of the negatives is because he is 6'5", he'll play a little high at times. Other thing is he needs to finish at times. He had 60 pressures last year, 60, and he had only 5 sacks. 5 sacks is still a good number for interior defensive line, but when you're pressuring 60 times, you want to make sure you finish. So there's that, and then there's a concern a little bit of he didn't do the 3-cone drill or anything like that because there's a little bit of concern of his change of direction speed. For me, that's important, but not hugely important. Where someone you're lining up in the middle of the defensive line, and they're pretty much trying to push the pocket and get right to the quarterback. I guess you could say that turning quickly and chasing down the runner would be an issue. But if he's clogging up his gaps and stuff, I feel like he's doing his job for the most part. So let's be honest, I still have him at 3, so I still have him very high. But for me, he's just a very, very high floor player with an exceptional ceiling as well.
I do agree with you on the finishing as well. You mentioned the high pressures and the low sack numbers. I had 12 missed tackles last year as well. That's pretty high.
That's
so as far as him, like I said, I think he's an elite hand fighter. He gets off blocks easily, but he's just got to finish with more plays with guys on the ground.
I agree.
Alrighty. So, Simon, who is your number 3 defensive lineman?
This is where I have Kenneth Grant.
All right. Number 3, I have Walter Nolan.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. Number 2, Jake, who's your number 2?
People are probably going to hate me for this, but there's so many good edge players. I had to pull one on this list. And this is where I have Michael Williams out of Georgia.
Okay.
I had to rank him high, and I couldn't rank him high. I was fighting myself.
You can put him on both. That's allowed.
I could have.
All right, Bryant, who's your number 2 defensive lineman?
Yeah, that's where I have Walter Nolan. This dude is, in my opinion, is the most physically gifted interior defensive lineman in this draft. He was the number 1 recruit coming out nationally from high school. Finished his last year in high school, since Jake likes high school stats, with 17 sacks and 33 tackles for loss, which is a high number. So, crazy. Yeah. He started making impact right away as a freshman. He's young, 21. Yep. Played 10 games and 4 starts. So he had, sack, forced fumble, tackles for loss. And then 2023, played 10 starts, had 8.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, a pass breakup. And then 2024, so last year when he moved to Ole Miss, he was first team AP, first team all SEC, which is pretty damn good conference. Tied for the team lead with 14 tackles for loss. So as you can see, it's just ticking up. He's getting better every year. Then he was a finalist for the Altland Trophy, which is nation's top offensive lineman or defensive lineman, which is elite pool. And then he had 48 tackles and 6.5 sacks and 3 pass breakups. Just impressive playmaking production. You watch his tape and you'll see him blocking. And then he'll quickly run, like you'll see where the play is running. He'll quickly disengage and get around and go make a play. It's pretty impressive to watch. He almost, like, if you watch him, or look at him, he almost seems like a thinner defensive lineman, but he's just so stout and powerful. He'll punch and shove defenders aside. He can also beat them with quickness. So he's got great body control, allows him to eat up double teams and still make plays. So this is going to be a player they're going to have to double team. He has a good set of pass rushing abilities, so he can play on all 3 downs. Possesses a quick swim move and a bull rush. So he plays really well laterally. Like I said, he'll chase down the ball carrier and has impressive change of direction. He's really good at diagnosing plays and combo blocks. He has that nasty demeanor. He'll run you over. There's a couple. I think I watched him suplex a couple people. Don't do that in the NFL. You'll probably get fined and a flag. But he definitely was throwing people around a little bit. I do think he kind of tends to get a little. I think he has such a high motor. He does get a little tired, so he'll play high at times, especially later in the game. You'll see that with a couple people that I will talk about. And also, he's been relying on his physical dominance to win with the pass rush moves and stuff in the NFL. So he'll probably have to improve a little bit. Where if he gets blocked or whatever, he'll have to come up with a secondary pass rush move. And then I think at times he's so eager to make a play, he won't remain gap disciplined. So he has to make sure to make that, make sure he's staying in his responsibilities. If it's not a play, he's going to get a sack or something on. The only other thing is he does have a little bit shorter arms. So if a double team or someone else does get to him first, gets their arms on him, he will struggle to get a little bit off of it. But I think that's something he'll learn to get past or whatever as he develops. But I really like Walter Nolan. I think he could be just a monster.
All righty. Simon, who is your number 2 defensive lineman?
That's also where I have Walter Nolan.
All righty. Number 2 is where I have Kenneth Grant. I like Kenneth Grant a lot.
I do too.
Number 1, defensive lineman. Jake, give me yours. Jake is muted.
You're on mute.
I am muted. I am sorry. I have
Made
Kenny
fun of Brian
Grant's
for being a
teammate, Mason Graham.
All right. Does anybody have anybody other than Mason Graham, number 1?
Nope.
All right.
He's really good.
He's so fucking good.
That'll be the easiest consensus guy.
Yeah.
To rank.
He's number 1.
Well, it's Mason Graham, number 1.
Well, I feel like we'll all have a defensive end that's pretty much number 1 too. But
yeah. I was this close to not.
We'll talk about it. So let's get into the edge rushers. We'll have some conversations when we get to the top of this list. I think we're gonna have some interesting conversations.
We will.
Edge rushers then. And Bryant, you brought it up, so I'll let you go first. Give me your number 10 edge rusher.
yeah, that's JT Tumalau.
All right. Simon, who's your number 10 edge rusher?
He was just off my list. I have Princely Uman Milan.
Uman Milan.
Yep, Uman Milan.
That's a tough
There you go,
name.
Jake.
I
You got
have to
company.
talk about him, bro.
What's up?
I said that's a tough name, and I have to talk about him. Oof.
I get.
Just call him Princely.
Yeah.
Jake, who's your number 10?
My prince.
My number 10 is Ashton Galat out of Louisville.
All right. No, my number 10 is Nick Scorton. All right, Brian, who's your number 9?
That's where I have Jack Sawyer.
Same.
Spoiler alert, not on my list.
On my upset
He was
list,
a tough one for me. Like there's a bunch of guys around the same area that I had like really close.
Jack Sawyer and Landon Jackson, like I see why people like them, but to me they're just so raw that I just can't do it.
That's who Green Bay loves.
yeah,
I
neither of
just
them are
can't
on
do
my
it.
list either.
All right. Simon, who's your number 9?
Yeah, after 7. Yeah, after 7 for me, all those guys were like this close for me.
My 9 through damn near 16 all could have been interchangeable.
Yeah,
That's fair.
and I wouldn't be mad at it. Number 9. Right, I'm on number 9.
Yep, number 9.
Yeah, Jack Sawyer.
All right. Jake, who's your number 9?
I have Kamon Rucker.
All right, he's my number 11. Number 9 is where I have John Joyner.
Okay.
All right, Bryant, number 8.
That's where I have Landon Jackson. I almost put him lower because that video of him just you guys know.
You're talking about the combine thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's smacking the bed.
He's like, wow. I love that video.
Simon, who's your number 8?
I also have Landon Jackson, number 8.
right,
He's
yeah,
so big, dude.
yeah. He's just like
That worries me a little bit with him.
he's an odd athlete. Is
He
the
looks
way
like
I'll
he should
put
be
it.
playing tight end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's 22 years old, 6'6", 264. Honestly, as far as size and strength, that's like Green Bay. uh, he's a good tackler. I think he plays the run pretty well. He maintains good leverage. He has really long arms, and he has a good tackling radius. I would say his injury history is a little bit of a concern. He has 2 ACL injuries. Shout out to Jake. He has one in high school and and one in college. Obviously, with his size, he's not the most agile or twitchy athlete either.
All righty. Jake, hit me with your number 8.
Giannis just hit a disgusting Euro step lefty layup. I gotta say that first of all, and one. Also, number 8, I have Jordan Birch out of Oregon.
I like it. I like it. My number 8, I have Michael Williams.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Top 7, Bryant, give me your number 7 edge.
Donovan Ezaraku.
Nicely
Good
done.
job.
Nicely
Simon,
done.
number 7.
I'm proud of you.
Bryant stole my list, I think. Donovan Ezraku.
All right. Jake,
I
who's your
swear we didn't do
I'll
this.
just do the notes for 2 weeks and we'll just have the same list, Simon. You don't even have to do it.
In 2 weeks, they're gonna go from sharing notes to sharing a bed. You know, it's
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
great evolution.
I'm not even mad about it.
We know. That's why it's happening. All right, Jake, who's your number 7?
Jared Ivey.
Oh.
All right. Number 7, I have JT Tuimolu.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's go to top 6. Bryant, give me your number 6 edge rusher.
Yeah, that's where I have the first guy I'm going to talk about. That's Nick Scorton.
Okay.
6'3", 257 pounds, 4.7. Before I get into what I'm talk about, he's the only person I looked up who they're compared to because it was just kind of interesting. And he was compared to Trey Hendrickson, who everyone wants Green Bay to trade for right now.
Yep.
He's a young ascending player, so he's only 20 years old. He won't turn 21 until June. So he played 10 games as a reserve at Purdue in 2022. He had a couple sacks, 22 tackles, forced fumble. 2023, he had a big season for Purdue. This is where you can be like, well, his 24 tape wasn't as good as his 23 tape. But, you know, second team all Big Ten conference. He tied for 8th in college football with 10 sacks, started 11 games. He had 50 tackles, 15 for loss, 3 pass breakups, a forced fumble. And then 2024, he moved to the SEC. And that's where he wasn't first team all SEC. He was finalist for the Lott Impact Trophy, which is top defensive player who exhibits integrity, maturity, performance, academic, community, and tenacity. So that's kind of nice, you know, good all around guy. He did lead the team with 14 tackles for loss. He did have 5 sacks. So he didn't play in Las Vegas Bowl versus USC. The one thing I did hear about him kind of is it seems like he's just kind of someone that shows up, does his business, and leaves, essentially, is how he's described. So you would definitely want to see him become more of a leader and stuff like that, especially if he's getting, you know, nominated for like something like the Impact Trophy. So like I said, he's a young ascending player who I think he might have close to, if not the best pass rush arsenal in the draft this year. He has a disgusting spin move that he uses, you know, and he combines with his quickness and precise hand placement to beat tackles quickly and cleanly. He also has a quick first step, and he also uses his hands to chop, swipe, and club, you know, offensive lineman's hands down. So he has heavy hands. He has a quick first step and can shoot the gap quickly. Has nonstop motor that will wear on defenders throughout the game for sure. So he's just going to wear you down. Unfortunately, he, you know, will cause himself to wear down a little bit too, but he's going to put some damage on him. He will chase down players from behind and will fight through multiple blocks. He does have a great change of direction, and offense definitely forced a game plan for him because of this. The one thing that, you know, I say all that great things, that the one thing he doesn't do great is like bending around the edge necessarily. He can't get real low and bend around the edge or anything like that. So he'll struggle there. And then although he does have the great pass rush moves, I don't want to say he gives up after he stopped, but he needs to learn the secondary move continue just to fight, which he does. He'll continue to fight, but he doesn't really have a secondary move to get through him there. kind of like I talked about with Nolan, he does have a little bit of shorter arms. So if the tackle or guard can get their arms on him first, it can create some issues for him. I feel like he really has the ability to be a true pass rush specialist in the NFL, and produce double-digit sack seasons, almost like someone like Zadarius Smith, where we're all like, his run defense ain't all that good, but he also puts up 14 sacks or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of player I kind of see. So I wouldn't put him on Trey Henderson's level right now, but just the fact that someone else compared him to that is interesting in my opinion.
The two biggest things that I had written down with Skirton was that he commands a ton of double teams, even on being on a team of a guy that we're going to talk about to come yet. And he did very well against Armin Membu, a guy who was very highly ranked in our offensive line 2 shows ago. So seeing Texas A&M versus Missouri, he played very well in that game against another highly rated offensive line player.
Yeah, I think he has all the physical tools to be. He can be a problem for sure.
All right, so we are at 6. So Simon, give me your number 6.
My number 6. Let me go back one. I had Donovan Ezeraku. I just blanked on it. My bad. I'll just go back real quick and then I'll give my number 6. So Donovan Ezeraku, 21 years old, 6'2", 247. He has a really good first step. I think Bryant mentioned that Nick Squirton had a good pass move or pass rush repertoire. I think Ezeraku's right there with him, to be honest with you, and he has some really good counter moves too. But as a smaller guy, he's definitely a bendy player, get around the edge, good effort, and a very good tackler. And I think he has good anticipation for what's to come. I think he kind of has a lack of play strength due to him being a little smaller of a guy. If a good NFL tackle gets his hands on him, it's just he might have a little more issues getting around the outside, and he doesn't have the best pursuit speed, in my opinion. But this is definitely someone that can come in and be your pass rush specialist at least off the bat.
Don't forget he played with our defense coordinator too. So
yep.
Play with Jeff
from Boston College. Yeah. Alrighty, who's your number 6 then, Simon?
Oh yeah, my bad. Number 6 is James Pierce Jr.
Ooh. All right, Jake, who is your number 6?
I have Oziah Stewart.
All right, number 6 is where I have my first guy, Jordan Birch from Oregon. 6'6", 295. That's why I do have him as a defensive end as far as the Packers would be concerned in the 3-4. Had 246 pass rushes, had 32 pressures, and 10 sacks. It's a 13% pressure rate. That's pretty high. Also had 4 pass bat downs, which is very good to have that combination of being able to rush the passer as well as getting your hands in the passing lanes. He is very strong and very fast, even for 295 pounds, as a little bit more slimmer defensive end. Has great pursuit. He's good at getting off blocks and setting the edge, which is a very important thing that we've discussed on our show for the last 2 years, is having guys that can set the edge. That's something that we've talked about as an opportunity for a guy like Kingsley Enagbare. And, he was a 5th-round pick, so I understand, the development wasn't crazy, but that was one of the things that we were hoping to see Kingsley Enagbare improve at, and that's something that I think Jordan Birch is good at. The dude is everywhere. He's breaking up screens, he's rushing the passer, he's in the backfield versus the run, he's batting down passes, like I said. He does everything. He can play with his hand in the ground, and he can play upright. Makes me wonder if they would possibly mix him in at defensive line, similar to how they've done with Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden. He is on Bruce Feldman's freak list, so we've brought that up a lot. And there was a game against Michigan State where he did the Reggie White one-arm toss.
Oh, nice.
So if there's one play that always stands out to me from each of the guys that I talk about, it's seeing him get an arm underneath a guy's armpit and just completely shove him out of the way. So that stands out when you watch the tape for Jordan Birch, my number 6 edge rusher. So go to top 5 edge rushers. Bryant, who is your number 5?
Yeah, that's where I have Mike Green out of Marshall.
Ooh, all right, coming up. Simon, number 5.
This is where I have Nick Squirton.
All right, Jake, number 5.
This is where I have Princely. I'm not going to say his last name.
Princely Uman Milan. I also have him number 5. So
He's from Ole Miss. He's 6'4", 264, ran a 4.6 40. He had a team leading 14 quarterback hurries and 13 and a half tackles for loss. He has a nasty counter spin to go with a good stab move he has on the edge. He showed off versus Georgia, had a crazy game versus Georgia. If you really want to get a feeling on the ceiling for Princely, go watch his game versus Georgia. He was going crazy. There's a lot of NFL talent on that Georgia Bulldogs team. One writer described Princely's play style as he plays with his hair on fire. And I was like, yeah, that's good. I'm using that in my notes. He uses his length to create space. He sets a mean edge in the run game. I thought he was really good against the run. Ever since, I would say probably the last 8 years when the Packers have been getting gashed on outside runs, I really focus on these edge rushers setting the edge. That's something that's like super vitally important to me. If I'm even going to consider him a Packers defensive end player, and Princely was really good at that. He does need to create more counter moves because his counter spin is nice, but if you're a good offensive tackle, you're going to know that he's got one move and he's got the one counter. So he needs to create another counter move. He does play a little bit high at times as well, but other than that, he's a very good player.
my only thing with him, and I do agree with you on setting the edge, he is quick and stronger on the edge, but he does over pursue at times.
Yeah, he does rush upfield a little bit, creating rush.
And that just being in that position, it does give the opportunity for some running lanes for the quarterbacks in between the guard and the tackle. And I just don't want to be in a position where we're letting Caleb Williams run all over the field.
Yeah,
I would much rather force him to be a pocket passer.
that's fair.
And we know that the other guys in the NFC North already are pocket passers. JJ McCarthy's got some running ability, but again, like we don't even know what he's going to be in the NFL. So
Yeah.
All right. So my number 5 was also Princely Uman Milan. So Bryant, give me your number 4.
And that's right, Shamar Stewart.
All right. Simon, number 4.
Mike Green.
All right. Jake, number 4.
This guy was going to be way higher on my list until I found out he had some attitude issues. It's James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee.
All right. Number 4 is where I have my other guy, Mike Green from Marshall. You might understand, or you might have seen Mike Green from a play from the Senior Bowl when he absolutely demolished an offensive lineman, just completely ran him over and forced him to do the dead animal on the back roll over, hands and feet in the air. He doesn't often bull rush when he was at Marshall, but he might be capable, could add some muscle to make him even more dangerous at 6'4", 248. So that's more of like an outside linebacker type size. But if he can add even like 15, 20 pounds, that would be enough, in my opinion. I mean, you look at Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby's only like 260. So, like, there's not a ton of super heavy guys playing defensive end. I understand that adding weight does potentially sacrifice speed, so that is something to be brought up. But 354 pass rushes turned into 59 pressures and 17 sacks for Marshall in 2024. That's a 16.7% pressure rate as a defensive end. That's very high. Has great pursuit. He has a great swim move. He has good bend around the edges. He's good at getting off of blocks. He is laterally quick and changes directions quickly, so that is something as a potential edge rusher. Makes a bigger difference in the run and versus mobile quarterbacks. He has really good play recognition. I wrote in my notes, do not try him with a tight end or a running back. He blows it up, all of it. And then he's good at swatting offensive linemen's hands out of the way just to help him get his pass rush on. Did force 2 fumbles as well in 2024, so had a very good 2024 season, and the 17 sacks just jumps off the page. And for him to have performed well at the Senior Bowl, I think that's just a good combination. So if he's there at 23, wouldn't mind the Packers picking him.
I know people always like, oh, small school and stuff. I always go back to like a player like Khalil Mack or something that would produce like that puts up huge numbers. He's out of Buffalo, so you know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell last year came from Toledo. I mean, we've seen, even Isaiah Likely, a tight end for the Ravens who had a super hot start to last season, came from Coastal Carolina.
I mean, you brought on Max Crosby, Eastern Michigan, dude. I mean, that's another one right there.
I mean, yeah, guys come from small schools all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker Kraft.
Jackrabbit, baby.
Yeah, so there's guys. Afam said we need to hit the cornerback draft lotto. That's next week. Next week we're going to talk corners. All right, number 3. We're on number 3 now.
3.
Bryant, give me your number 3 edge rusher.
Yeah, so my number 3 is actually where I have my next guy, and that's Michael Williams. Jake kind of already mentioned that he was just too good to not have high on his list. Yeah. Well, I have him high on my list as a defensive edge. And so 6'5", so he's big, 260 pounds, around 4.77. He's produced since he went into college. So I said that Nick Scorton turned 21 in June. He actually doesn't turn 21 until August, so he's a little bit younger. Michael Williams is the one that turns 21 in June. So both these players are very young, so ascending players. As a freshman, he was a freshman All-American, all SEC, all freshman team. He led the team with 4.5 sacks, and that was a national championship team that he led with 4.5 sacks. So, and 6.5 tackles for loss. 2023, he was second team All SEC, played in 13 games, had 6.5 tackles for loss, 2 pass breakups. And then I must have forgot to write down the sacks. My bad on that one. But and then 2024, he had a pretty damn good year. Second team All SEC, 2 forced fumbles, played in 12 games, 6 starts. He had 21 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss with 5 sacks, pass breakup. Yeah, he did suffer an ankle injury in the first game of the season, so he played through that. For sure, that affected him to a certain degree. So he uses speed and long arms to get around defenders. He's really – so also I want to talk about kind of like me and Simon talking about Ezrique and Scorton. Both of them kind of pass rush specialists. That is not who Michael Williams is. He is a pass rush. He'll get sacks and stuff, but he's really, really good against the run too. Great awareness and rarely gets lost in identifying run plays. Over 30% of his tackles in his career resulted in a loss. So, I mean, he just makes tackles behind the line of scrimmage. So can play all over the field. He'll put his hand in the dirt. He'll stand up, has the ability to drop into coverage. So we can get back to our, CB1 Preston Smith plays. There's a couple plays where you'll see him kind of go out in the flat and, just knock the ball down. He'll turn his speed into power and overwhelm blockers, has a good change of direction and quick closing bursts to finish sacks. He just has an elite motor and never quits. Young player, like I said. In my opinion, he's produced and still hasn't reached his full potential yet. So that's kind of intriguing. We've had people like, LVN that we're still hoping he reaches his full potential because he didn't produce all that much in college. Well, this is a player that's young that hasn't reached his full potential, but he has produced. He did, like I said, he played with that ankle injury in 2024. So if he wasn't injured playing, maybe at 80, 90%, who knows, he could have had an even bigger year. The one thing I did notice on the tape is he definitely can come out of the snap pretty slow. Like there's one play where it's like he's a good step and a half behind everyone else. He still makes a really good play on the play as a whole. But I was watching, I was like, man, that was slow. Like if you could see it with the naked eye how slow it was pretty slow. He will continue to need to improve his pass rush repertoire. So he'll want to do that. Luckily, if he was to end up in Green Bay, you have someone like Rashawn Gary, who's constantly trying to, improve his craft with his, where he swipes the arms and his spin move and stuff. So definitely good teachers there. He could afford to add some more strength and play lower to the ground. So on that frame, as he gets older, he might, get into an NFL gym, add, good pounds of muscle and stuff and just become an absolute freak. So definitely a really good player.
Let me add something to Michael Williams real quick. I'm just going to read the first thing I wrote down about him. Michael Williams looks like the kind of guy you make on a video game with how long his arms are and how fast he can run in a straight line. Like, he just looks like a video game guy to me.
Yeah. He'd be fun. Green Bay loves the Georgia players. So
yeah, they do. He's got long-ass arms, dude. That's the first thing I noticed, too.
Yeah. Avon wants some speed rushers on the edge, thinks we almost have too much power. As far as the center thing goes, Elton Jenkins has plenty of center experience. Maybe not quite as much in the NFL because he's primarily played guard, but his final 2 years at Mississippi State, he played center the entire time. He has over 1,700 college snaps and over 300 NFL snaps. So with a full offseason to prepare as the center, I'm okay with it.
I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. It wasn't my ideal scenario just because I didn't love the way that he played center in 2024, but I understand he was also kind of thrust into a role that he wasn't really prepared for. With an entire offseason to prepare for it, I think he'll be capable.
And just talk about Michael Williams' arms real quick. I looked it up. His arms are 67 percentile, but when you mix it with his hands, his wingspan is 83 percentile. It's 7'10" is his wingspan. So,
dude, his arms are long as shit. I was looking at him, I was like, Jesus,
82, almost 83 inches. So
that's ridiculous.
His arms are long as hell. Telling you, he looks like a video game guy, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, you said 83 inches?
Yeah.
That'd be 6'10", not 7'10". You had me out here picturing Victor Wembanyama for a second. I'm like, what the hell?
You knuckle draggers.
Dude. Oh, man, that would be
Sorry,
wild.
I didn't do my math right.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, man, 7 foot. That's wild. Why is he not playing basketball?
Slowing down, bro.
All right.
Either way, 7 foot wingspan is still long.
That is still long. Yes. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
You're right. It's not 8 foot. My bad. I don't. North Dakota math.
that was crazy. All right. So we are at number 3. Simon, give me your number 3.
Number 3 is Michael Williams.
All right, Jake, number 3.
I have Mike Green, and I agree with AFAM. I think that's the one thing missing from the edge room is some speed, and Mike Green would be a home run hit in terms of speed on the edge.
Yeah, strongly agree. Number 3 is where I have Shamar Stewart.
His RAS was
Brian, who's your number 2?
out of 10, 99.99 out of 10 was his RAS score.
Love that.
Athletic.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. Almost perfect. Almost.
Yeah, almost.
All right,
Could be
Brian,
better.
Top two, not 2. Brian, who's your number 2?
So that's where I have James Pierce. I guess I missed the attitude stuff. That maybe it came out, or I just missed it.
Yeah.
When I was looking at stuff.
I've heard a little bit about it.
Green Bay still hosted him, I think, right? Yeah,
they
they have
also
some.
holded Matt or Bolden or whatever out of Texas. I've heard has some little
Yeah,
attitude.
no. You're thinking of Isaiah Bonds.
Isaiah Bonds, okay. Oh wait, no, they took Golden in. It was Isaiah Bonds that has attitude issues.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, we'll have some conversations even in these top 2. Simon, who's your number 2?
Shamar Stewart.
All right, Jake, number 2.
My last guy, and it is Shamar Stewart. Want to talk about that RAS score? He put on a show in Indy, my boys.
Yeah, he did.
A 40-inch vert. He did have a 40-inch vert, but he had a 40 time of 4.59 at 281 pounds, which is just ungodly. He also had a broad jump of 10'11", and yes, I mean 10'11", and he had a 10-yard split of 1.58, dude. That is filthy, bro.
That's nasty.
No, fast
281 pounds is insane.
I literally, so he didn't put up huge sack numbers. He did have some decent pressure numbers. He had 39 pressures over 350 passing snaps in 2024. That's 12.4%. That's still a pretty good percentage, but he only had 4 sacks. So he needs to get a little bit better as a pass rusher. He has some really, really impressive lateral quickness. Obviously, you heard the numbers. Very raw in the pass rush department. And I know that we don't really take the grades, take it like a grain of salt. But the PFF grade that they had on him as a pass rusher was 67.2, and him as a run defender, they graded him as an 88.2. So elite versus the run game. He's just an athletic freak. A couple plays that I watched of him is he's really defying physics with how much bend he has. Like he's almost like with the ground running to the quarterback and holding an offensive tackle off in one arm. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, this guy could be a monster. I put him number 2 strictly because of his potential. Like his numbers don't show the potential, but he has the highest potential in my opinion.
Is this another LVN trap though? Would be my concern with him.
No.
I feel like LVN was based a little bit more on his physicality.
Yeah. I don't want to say it. He's kind of like a poor man's Myles Garrett is kind of how I'm going to say it. Texas A&M, big body, super athletic, put on a show in Indy. Like he shouldn't be this fast and strong and jump this high at this size. Like he shouldn't. It's just illegal. So he's kind of like a poor man's Myles Garrett. I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near Myles Garrett because that would be ridiculous. That guy's a monster. He was a Hall of Famer when he got drafted. That's how good that guy was. But Shamar Stewart has an opportunity if he gets a little bit better in the pass rush area, which the Packers haven't been too hot at the last couple of years. If they can have one of these guys hit, I think that would be the next step for them. And I think Shamar Stewart would be their best chance.
Shamar Stewart is another guy that I wrote down where he like muddles things up, where he can take up 2-3 blockers and it frees other guys up and disrupts things and allows other guys to make plays.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Number 2 is where I have James Pierce. And do we all have Abdul Carter number 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the James Pierce attitude thing, that is the only thing that kept me from putting James Pierce above Abdul Carter. I was very, very close to doing it, but the attitude thing did keep Abdul Carter over James Pierce for me. But, I mean, you talk about a perfect blend of size, speed, and strength, and I think James Pierce has that. He's another guy kind of like Mike Green, who has the ability to still add some weight at 6'5", 243. But to have 55 pressures on 254 pass rushers is a 21.7% pressure rate. That's stupid. For Abdul Carter, the consensus number 1 edge rusher that we have, his is 18.8. So you're talking more like about 3% higher than Abdul Carter. You're talking over 1 in 5 pass plays ends with just James Pierce making a pressure.
Yeah, he's
his size, speed, strength, tight ends do not stand a chance against him. He's really good with stunting. He's quicker on the edge. I mean, outside of the attitude thing, like I really don't have any knocks on James Pierce. As far as Abdul Carter, he was beaten by Donovan Jackson and got him back later on in the game. And my only thing with Abdul Carter is similarly to you brought up with Michael Williams is I wish he was a little quicker off the snap. So like if I was the Cleveland Browns, I wouldn't be taking Abdul Carter with the 2nd pick. That's just me personally. I think he's still a top 10 pick, but I don't think he's a top 5 pick, in my opinion.
I feel like this draft is weird. I feel like the quarterbacks are getting a little overvalued.
They always do, but even more so in this year with not a super strong class of quarterbacks.
Yeah, like Cam Ward's going to get picked number 1 overall, and I'm not sold on him being the number 1 player in this draft just because of his position.
So I'm looking. I Googled. Sorry, real quick. I Googled that character concerns. It seems like it's coming from a player that played with him in high school, but they didn't see anything from James Pierce while he was on campus. Like, so I wonder, if that's.
It's one of those stories.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to get into fall or whatever. So I'm trying to find something from an NFL scout if it's anything other than this, this player coming out that played with him in high school and said that he was crazy, that he had anger issues. But I'm not seeing anything from Tennessee at all. So
that's good to know.
Well, there is something I wanted to say about Abdul Carter. Didn't he get in trouble in the offseason before this year? I'm pretty sure he had an off-the-field issue, and that was something that I was looking at too with Abdul Carter. I was like, because I was really close to putting Shamar Stewart as my number 1, but I was like, man, Abdul Carter is just so good. Like he's plays strong. His game day strength is it translates to everywhere. Home road, he's the same player. Rushes the passer well. Has a crazy pressure rate. Like Abdul Carter's a good player. I'm pretty sure I read that he got into some trouble in the offseason.
I'm not seeing anything with a Google search, but
Abdul Carter got charged with a misdemeanor assault for getting into an altercation with a tow truck driver.
Yeah, that's what
that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I was just
it doesn't even
I was kind of bringing it up because like that's the kind of character concern stuff that they bring up, and they don't like classify it as. They don't tell you what it is. They say he has some off the field issues.
Yeah, and it's not even like a big deal. Like basically, the tow truck driver was trying to tow his car, and he was blocking him from doing it.
It literally could just be a misunderstanding, but the way the NFL is going to label it is going to make it sound really bad. It's really what I was trying to make a point for James Pierce.
They should make it so he drops all the way to
Carter
pick
was seen on
23.
video controlling the victim with one arm over the top of the victim's shoulder while his other hand was holding his sweatshirt. The driver was diagnosed the next day with a non-displaced rib fracture.
Yeah, he went and threw himself down the stairs when he realized it was Abdul Carter.
Like, oh man, this guy's gonna be rich, dude.
That happened in March, actually, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was from I saw the report that I read was from April. So
Oh, yeah, 2024, sorry.
yeah, it was from 2020.
What was it, 2025 already. Goodness gracious. All right.
2024 words. But yeah, I mean it's not like he punched the guy or fractured his jaw or something like that. Yeah, that's why it was a misdemeanor. So not a huge deal, I don't think. But alrighty. Well, thanks for tuning in to another Wisco Fanatics draft series. Next week is our last positional show, and it is cornerbacks. So we are going to have 15 cornerbacks, kind of like we did with the wide receivers. We'll have 15 cornerbacks ranked, and we'll each have 2 to highlight again. And then the following week, that is going to be the Tuesday before the draft. We are doing just live mock drafts that day. So we'll do some, with the fan input, with the comment section. We'll do some just from the perspective of us. We'll do things, if the Packers go this direction in the first, what happens the rest of the draft. So we'll do some of those, and we always do a full first-round mock draft. So we'll do all of that in 2 weeks from tonight. And then 16 days from now, it's draft night.
Oh, yeah.
So the 4 of us will be getting together at least for one of the days of the draft, and we'll have some content coming out as well on that. Other than that, join us again next week for corners, and join Jake and I tomorrow to talk about the Bucks and the Brewers. And until then, we will see you tomorrow and next week.
Go Pack, go.